Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Today's episode is about the handbrake issue I had and how I dealt with it. Right, so this is the problem we have with our handbrake. It really is catching somewhere. I don't want to pull it too hard in case it jams on. So I'm going to have to take all this console out to find out what's going on down here. So here we are removing the footwell screws for the centre console, and then we were moving on to the glove box. Now down in the glove box here I knew there was two bolts which held it to the floor, but to access it you had to lift this panel up, and also it revealed an inspection panel. Then hey presto, here we have two of the bolts, so we keep them there for safekeeping. Now what I decided to do is to show you kind of like the access you get to the access panel and what you can actually see. And here you can just see the adjustment cable part of it, so nothing too impressive there really. So the next part of the job was to remove the gear stick lever gaiter. Now you could stick one of those tools in there, the trim removal tools, but I decided to try and do it another way. So I put my fingers under the loose part of the lever part and felt around for the clips, which just clipped underneath. And you could just enough play in the lever just to be able to pull the clip back and start unclipping. And then of course when one goes like that one, the rest tend to follow really easily. So all in all, that wasn't too bad a job. Okay, so this part here is comes apart here, but it's so tight that you wouldn't actually think it actually came out. It almost looks like part of the actual center console. So here you see us attacking this center console part, a fake veneer bit, with some plastic trim removal tools. Now I've cut this section down quite a bit because it was a case of I kept prizing and it looked like it was going to snap, either the section I was lifting or the actual tools themselves. But as you'll see, once you get the corner up, which is closest to the driver's seat, the rest of it was quite easy. So you do have to be forceful. You just got to accept that if you break it, you're going to have to get a second-hand part, but it's just so well put together, And this was a case of just wiggling it out till you got it into the right position, just to slide the gaiter through that gap, and then it lifted straight up. Now this is the front of the center console. This holds the auxiliary port and a couple of 12 volt charging outlets. Now when I first took this out, I mistakenly thought I had to unplug everything, and as you'll see, you don't actually have to. There's only two major plugs right underneath that you have to disconnect, and that disconnects from the main loom. So basically I was undoing these clips for nothing. But in another way that I found out that I needed to change one of the bulbs for the 12 volt outlets anyway, so that's another job I've got to do at some point. And this is the part where you can see these are just the two underneath side by side ones that you have to take apart, and then you're just disconnected from the main loom, so that would have saved me a lot of bother. And here I'll just show you the where the two screws are in the front of this part of the center console that attaches it to the main front dash. And this was the final part to remove from the center console, the little handbrake cutout. If you don't remove it, you won't be able to get it out. Right, so center console removal time. So after a lot of wiggling and jiggling, I figured out that the best way to do it was to lift it up at the back where the center storage box was, while pushing down on the front, the left hand side. As you probably see, it slots into the dash, so it just popped out then, and then it was a case of just wiggling it out over the handbrake and then out the front driver's door. Looking back, I probably should have just removed the driver's seat anyway. It's not too big a job. It would have made life a lot easier. I probably would have done, but the weather was raining one minute and sunshine the next, so I really couldn't leave the seat outside. So yeah, I ended up doing it slightly harder way. Right, so we have the handbrake now exposed, and as you can see, there's lots of dirt and grime under there after 250,000 miles. And once we get this handbrake out, we'll give it a bit of a clean up. So here's the mechanism. Of course, it was, you can put it on, however, that's all the problem. So it looks like the bit that slides, as you pull it up, it slides along. Where is it? This bit here, this bit, as you pull it up, it ratchets like that, but it's got nothing to slide on now, hence why all these bits. So it looks like another second-hand handbrake. Okay, so I knew now that there was no way we were going to fix this thing, so I decided to have a look around for a second-hand handbrake. Now I tried it, eBay, breakers yards, even the Finder Parts service, and I only ever had one reply, and that was for 65 quid plus VAT delivered. So I thought that's quite high for a second-hand unit. I was expecting to say something like 30 quid. So I went to Kia directly just to see how much they are new, and it turned out they were just over 80 quid plus VAT. So I just thought it was a bit of a no-brainer really, so I've got a brand new one. While I was waiting, I gave the console a good spruce up. I washed down, a bit of a scrub. Also those little parts, covers in the footwells for the same center console part. And put it all back together temporarily, but not all the screws in. It was kind of loose. It was just so that I could just carry on working and earning some money. Shows how rough that gets. That's where the seat goes up backwards and forwards and stuff jammed down in between it, rubbing. That's where people scuff their feet over as they get in the back. So once the new one arrived, it was time to get on and remove the old one. So first of all, we have to slacken off the nut on the cable, which is the one that attached to the handbrake. That would slightly slacken off the actual handbrake cables which attach to the rear of the car. Once that was done, it's pretty much like a bicycle cable. It was like a nipple on the end that you just wiggle it, loosen it off, and then it comes out, or it should come out quite easily. So the handbrake cables themselves were proving to be a little bit more stubborn than I thought they would be. So I decided I'm going to tackle it a different way. So I decided that I was going to unbolt the handbrake mechanism from the car itself. There's only 4 bolts, so it wasn't difficult. Then I would move the whole handbrake backwards towards the back of the car so that it would take the pressure off the handbrake cables that went to the handbrake itself at the rear. That way, though, it should, in theory, would have loosened up the cables for the nipples on the cable to come through those 2 slots in the top that you could see in the video. Now, one did prove to be easy to do, but the other one I had to have a little help with. So yes, my help was my trusty old screwdriver. Get that in there, wedge it underneath and force it out. So now all of the handbrake cables were detached. The only thing left to disconnect was the handbrake switch. Putting the new handbrake mechanism in was actually a piece of cake. Probably one of the easiest things I've ever done. And of course, not forgetting to reattach the handbrake sensor. Something I noticed when I was installing this handbrake and testing it, that when you pull in the handbrake up, because of where it's positioned, which is the other side of the two cup holders in the center console, as you're pulling it up, you're actually pulling it slightly towards you, so it's not pulling it straight up, you're pulling it at an angle. Well, that has to contribute to the wear and tear of this handbrake, which ultimately proved its demise, I would have thought. So all that's left to do now is to put the center console back in. Right, reinstalling this part of the center console. This is the part which had the two 12-volt outlets and the auxiliary outlet part. Now, you don't have to do what I did and unplug everything you can see. It's just those two main rectangular units right at the bottom there. So after reconnecting everything that I didn't need to disconnect, this is the bulb that needs to be changed at some point. And these are the main connectors that you just need to disconnect when disassembling, and then obviously reconnecting when you put it all back together. It would save you a lot of time, believe me. Once you've manoeuvred it around the gear stick gator, it should just settle in place, and then you'll just push it down and it clicks into place. Then just pull down the gear stick gator, line it up and push it down till it clicks in place. So all that's left to do now is put the screws back in the footwell panels that attach the center console to the dashboard, and then put the covers back in place, and then job's a good one. Right, I just thought I'd pop this on the end of the video. This is the old handbrake, and you can probably see where it's worn inside better now. And this, of course, is the new one, and you probably don't need me to tell you the difference. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you do, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.